Hi, in this exercise, we're going to take a look at how we can use the Anuta Atoms SDK to build workflows. So on this landing page, you get a chance to take a look at all the tooling available, and we'll be able to navigate to the respective tool. So in this case, we're going to take a look at how to build workflows. And two key concepts are some of the key concepts in workflow building is to navigate to the workspace where we can create workflows, modify workflows. And in the packages section, we're going to see all the deployed and all the deployed packages, including workflows, any other reports, any other adapters, all of them are deployed and the operational in runtime that are available for operators to order or deploy. We'll see some other packages that are in the developer workspace that are going through active development or modification as a part of the routine maintenance. So in the developer workspace, you're going to see one key concept as a workspace that belongs to a particular developer. If at all this system is being used by multiple developers, you would see other folders for other users, and based on permissions, they get to see what artifacts they own with respect to development. And for this exercise, we're going to take a look at turning up a port and to just give a high-level summary of the use case. So we're taking a scenario where we have a device, we have an interface, and the interface is down. And instead of going and bringing that interface back up, right, we actually are creating a process where we're going to open a change request, and we're going to bring up the port, and we're going to also close the change request. So quick overview of the canvas here. So now we're going to go into the edit button and go into the workflow edit mode. So once we go into the edit mode, we're going to see a few more constructs that are made available to the developer. One is the development tool panel on the left-hand side, and also an API catalog. And in the API catalog, you're going to see all the APIs that are made available as a part of Atom. And these APIs are APIs that natively are Atom's own functionality that we can call in. Or these APIs could be coming from like an Ansible playbook or some external Python scripts. Or some of these APIs may be coming even from the external integrations. External integrations are the adapters we develop and deploy and distribute. And each of these adapter exposes a bunch of APIs, like sometimes RPCs, Arch actions. And all of these are available for drag and drop deployment onto the canvas. And to take a look at what we can do further here, so there are some constructs. One of the fundamental constructs is user form, where we accept input from the end user. As you can see from here, there's a form definition. So in this case, we're accepting a device IP and the interface name. And in the next construct, we're actually invoking a sub workflow. The sub workflow is going through operation checks on the interface, and the same sub workflow is also going to be used for the interface operation checks for the post checks. And we also have already done a few of these operations, like the bring up commands. We have already provided this input to the workflow. For example, if you see here, we are bringing up the interface here, and this is already pre-programmed so that we can focus on adding two ServiceNow API requests. Okay, and if you see, the post checks are also leveraging the same reusable library that's doing the interface status. So we're going to start with creating the ServiceNow ticket. And we're going to drag and drop, look for the ticket, and then drag and drop the incident. And once the API call is placed at the right location. So in this, by this time, the workflow would have bypassed the operational check, and it would have come down to invoke the RPC call. And we're going to give it a name. So here we're actually creating a change request to ServiceNow. We're going to be providing some more input. So you're going to mention who is submitting the ticket, and then a brief description. So in the description, we want to extract the device ID and the interface that we're going to bring up. So we are giving a Jinja 2 template, and we're saying that this is a low impact because this is not a defect, it's more of a change request. Okay, and after we create the change request, we're also going to get a response back, and that is something that we will have to save as a part of the request into a output variable. So we're going to do that as a part of the output variable here. And this output variable is where we'll store the change request ID And this is the same ID that we're going to use down the line when we have to update the ticket to closed. So same, we're going to be submitting a Jinja 2 template here to extract the change request ID from the create change request API call. Okay, so after this step, we would be doing the port bring up, and we have already seen what commands are submitted there. And now we're going to be bringing back the same flow in update incident ticket. And for the update incident, we're going to be using the update incident API call. And as we discussed before, we're going to be using the same change request ID to go and close the ticket. So we'll give it a name. And we'll provide the input. The input would be predefined, and we would have already saved. So in this case, it's so in this case, it's a close code, and the ticket ID is mandatory. So we're going to provide close nodes as well. We're going to point to the change request that we saved before. And submit. So that should complete the workflow process. And then now we can validate the workflow to see if we have any issues. We have not filled up any of the mandatory properties and whatnot. And the next step is going to deploy the workflow. And deployment step will allow us to further test it out and see if we have to make any further fine tuning. So we have to go and click the test button. And this whole process allows us to do iterative development where we design, deploy, test, and then we come back, modify, and then we repeat the process again until we are ready to release the workflow. So now we go to the testing phase, we save it, and we test. And once we submit the test, so the workflow will end up in a running state where the workflow will be launched, and if there are any user forms that need to be submitted, they will all be starting to be prompted so that we can pick it up and test the end-to-end flow. So from here, as you can see, the workflow is already started. As you can see, the status is, you can see on top of the user input. That means that we need to provide the user input, the device ID, and the interface name. So if you see here, that's where we have provided the device ID and the interface name. We submit. So the workflow now can progress further. And we'll go and create the change request. It will also bring up the port and do the next activities. Okay, so now we can open up the task and see the progress. So now it's doing the port turn up. Yeah, now the workflow is done. Now the next step would be either we're happy and we want to release the workflow, or we will continue to make edits. So when we have to make this as edit, we can go back to the edit button, and then it will launch the workspace view, and we can start modifying the workflow again. And this process will continue until the workflow is ready for release.